Hello and welcome to Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark. Be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. I'd like to play this background music over here. So let me play that. So thanks for watching, and please hit the like, subscribe, and share. Start off, we're doing the Bible verses. This story that I'll be doing today, it hits a special nerve with me because I was living in that county when the Amber Alert was given. Matthew 18, verse 6, But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Fathers, do not embitter your children, or they will become discouraged. He has the guy that supposedly done this, allegedly done that, which he done got convicted twice of it. Then they had to go for another trial. Oh boy, it's horrible. In Matthew 18, verse 10, Take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones. For saying to you, that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. Learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow. We'll go with that's the cyber tip line. Get past that. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, personal, or educational use tips and balance in favor of fair use. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. Appreciate y'all. This special case back in 2006, I can remember the APB. We'll go over that in a few minutes. We'll start off with that. So I'll be showing y'all the different things that transpired after the APB. There's a 5-year-old in Marshall County, Alabama, and is murdered in 2006. Without further ado, I'll go ahead and share the screen. So here's where the Amber Alert issued for child in a car stolen in Albertville, updated with picture. She claimed the mother had went into the store. Here is that precious 5-year-old. Look at that precious little boy. In Albertville, Alabama. A search continues for a vehicle after a man stole a car in which a 5-year-old boy was seated. Alabama State Troopers and Alabama Police issued the Amber Alert for GEONTAE Glass, who was in a light blue '94 Nissan Altima with no tag, when it was stolen this morning in front of a convenience store in Baltimore Avenue. The car was last seen traveling south on Alabama 205. Police said the child's mother was in the store when a pickup truck drove up, a man got out and stole the car. The driver of the pickup also fled the scene. Authorities said the child, who is black, is considered to be in extreme danger. The youngster weighs about 65 pounds, is an approximately 3 foot tall, and was wearing blue jeans and a long sleeve blue t-shirt. All right, so that goes with the initial APB. But it was sadistic, everyone. It was a ploy. The mother knew that he was already deceased in the car. Jury selection begins in capital murder trial of Etowah County man accused of killing the 5-year-old child. This was the mother's boyfriend. This was not the father of the child. In Gadsden, Alabama, jury selection started Monday. This put in mind of one in order. October the 5th, 2009. Jury selection started Monday in the capital murder trial of Kevin Andre Dre Tolles, accused in the 2006 beating death of a 5-year-old GEONTAE Glass. The trial was to have begun in early June, but Circuit Judge Alan Milliken declared a mistrial after several motions were filed over a questionnaire potential jurors were asked to complete. The reason for the mistrial was not divulged. Tal's girlfriend, Shalinda Glass, age 25, Rainbow City, who is GEONTAE's mother, was also charged with capital murder in her son's death. She remains in the county jail here. Investigators found the child's body in the trunk of a car parked behind Toll's home. See, that's the boyfriend. So it was all a setup, okay? Following Glass's 911 call, 911, that someone had stolen her car while she was inside an Albertville convenience store. She allegedly told police that her son was asleep in the car while both she and her 7-year-old daughter were in the store. Authorities later said they believe the child was dead when Glass made a call. There's the mother, right here, Shalinda Glass. Tolles had staged the abduction to cover up the child's death. District Attorney Jimmy Hart said his office is seeking the death penalty for Tolles and Glass. Could they not have got charged also with abuse of a corpse? So GEONTAE Glass's 10-year-old sister testifies, and this was 2009, put in perspective that he was murdered in 2006. So this is October the 8th, 2009. GEONTAE Glass' 10-year-old sister testifies in Kevin Tolles' murder trial. Yes, it is. It's very crazy. I like people giving hearts to these children that's involved. Gadsden, Alabama, the sister of a 5-year-old who was beaten to death, has testified that she saw her mother's boyfriend take her brother outside her home and that the boy appeared to be sleeping when the man carried him inside. The Gadsden Times said 10-year-old Shalia Glass testified Wednesday in the capital murder trial of Kevin Tolles in the beating death of GEONTAE Glass in 2006. GEONTAE's mother, Shalinda Glass, is awaiting trial. The girl said Tolles put her brother in the back seat of her mother's car the next morning. She said she and her mother went to a convenience store, and when they came out, the car was gone. The boy's body was found in the trunk of a car parked behind Tolles' house. There's Tolles right there. That's that sorry piece of crap right there. Thank you so much, Jackie. Appreciate it. And if any of his family comes and watches this, they know that we care. Well, let me tell you something I remembered from back then as well. Tolles was in jail when, I guess, in prison for, I'm not sure what exactly he had done. And his first son was 5-year old, and he convinced the governor to pardon him out of jail so he could go take care of his son. What a big mistake, y'all. They let that culprit out of jail. And now look what happened, right? That's one of these cases where I think they need to be in trouble for that. And here's where the beating death. Hey, good to see you, Little Wing. Thanks for coming. Also remember when the family, I'll go ahead and say this too. The news article, see, since I lived in that vicinity, all the family across the news would say, we're going to miss him. Every night he yells out, good night to everybody. He does not leave out a single person when he's yelling. And I kind of giggled to myself because I thought of, the Waltons, how they all yell out, good night, such and such, good night, such and such. Hello, good bucket, good to see you. I hope your doctor's appointment goes well. The beaten death of 5-year-old jury sees photos of the victim, and this is October the 9th, 2009. In Gadsden, Alabama, photographs of the body of the victim were shown to the jury as testimony continued in the trial of a man charged in the beating death of a 5-year-old. I would not want to see pictures of the child being. I would not want to do it. That'd be tough. The Gadsden Times says photographs of the body of GEONTAE Glass were submitted into evidence Thursday as Etowah County Sheriff Todd Entricken testified in the capital murder trial of Kevin Tolles, who is charged with murdering the child in December 2006. The body was found almost 24 hours after GEONTAE's mother, Shalinda Glass, reported her car stolen with the child asleep in the back. It was found in the trunk of his mother's car in the garage of Tolles' home. Forensic scientist London Pierce testified that a reddish-brown substance found on the bathtub at Tolles' home tested positive for blood. See, had I not found that today, I'd never even seen that. That there was actually blood in the bathtub. You sorry piece of crap. Sorry, everyone. You're going to hear me get mad. You're going to hear me fussing at the people. See, and right here, this is according to his son, okay? His own son, his first son. Tolles had a history of child abuse, and this was October 2009. Kevin Andre Tolles had abused a child before, according to the testimony of his 15-year-old son. Prosecutors called the teenager Friday to testify in the capital murder trial of his father, who was charged in the beating death of 5-year-old GEONTAE Glass in December of 2006. My dad had beat me before, after I continuously got in trouble at school, the teenager told the jury. Tolles' son said he was a victim of his father's abuse about 3 years before GEONTAE's death. Wow. He said he lived with his father and stepmother when he was 8 and 9 years old and was taken from Tolles' home when he was 9 years old. Thank God they got him out before he was murdered himself. I had a lot of cups under my bed, and Tolles got mad and picked up a metal box fan and hit me. Phew! Hit him with a metal box fan. Hit his own son. He was fussing at me about the cups. He said his father hit him in the side of the head with a metal box fan that was in his bedroom and later took him to school the same day. Wow. Two officials discovered a golf ball-sized knot on his head and contacted the Department of Human Resources. Thank you. Thank you, teachers. Thank you for stepping up and protecting this kid. And whoa. I had never been hit that hard, the boy said. He testified that he had not seen his father face to face since that day in 2003. He said his father used other things to strike him when he was being punished. The boy said leather belts were used at first, then extension cords and a cord that was attached to an air conditioning unit. At some point, a broomstick was used, and Tolles' fists were used several times, he said. He struck me with his fist because I got in trouble at school, he said. See, and that's where the little boy GEONTAE, he got attacked with his fist. He got beat so bad, severely. so many severe blows to his stomach. He said it was in my mouth, sometimes my stomach, and sometimes in my chest. After the extension cord stopped working, he told me it's going to start biting me, he later said. The boy said he went to the doctor after Toles hit him in the mouth. He said after the doctor visit, Toles cried about hitting him and told him he wanted him to do better in school. When he hit me on the mouth, he kind of cried and told me he just wanted to act right, the boy said. See, he's blaming the boy. He blamed the boy. I just want you to act right. How about you acting right as a father? GEONTAE Glass's older sister, Shalia, now 10, testified earlier this week that Toles also cried the morning she last saw GEONTAE walking and talking. That morning, Toles and G went outside. Shalia testified. She said Toles was a little mad and told G he was going to pay. I don't know about what, she said. Shalia was watching SpongeBob SquarePants, and before the show went off, Toles came back in the house carrying G, which is GEONTAE. He had his head on his shoulder like he was sleeping. She said he went and laid G down and covered him up. Shalia and said Toles then started to cry, and she never again saw her little brother move or speak. Toles' 15-year-old son stated he lived in fear of abuse from his father, especially when it came to his performance and behavior at school. GEONTAE's kindergarten teacher has testified that he appeared scared and his behavior improved on the Friday before he was beaten. After he discovered she had given him an unfavorable conduct grade. In cross-examination, Jason Willits, Deputy Capital Defender, Office of the Capital Defender of Commonwealth of Virginia, retained to represent Toles, asked the boy if the knot on his head had happened when he hit his head on the doorway in an attempt to pull away from the spanking and not from a beating. See, gosh, he's trying to say, he didn't do it to you, when you try to pull away, you hit your head. Well, they always try to blame the victim. Wow. If he was to have spanked me, I would not have gone to school with a knot on my head that day, the teen said. And furthermore, I never was stronger than my father, and I never pulled away from him because I knew he would stop beating me eventually. Eventually. Okay. I think I need to be sure to put in here and put trigger warning, because this is really devastating. So now I got it across the bottom there. So now here's about the pathologist slain Alabama child could have survived. Y'all see that? He could have survived. So this was actually October the 10th, 2009. A 5-year-old boy who prosecutors say was brutally beaten to death with a wooden board while was likely paralyzed by the assault but could have survived if he received medical attention, a pathologist said Friday. Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences pathologist Dr. Emily Ward testified in the capital murder trial of Kevin Andre Toles, who was accused of killing GEONTAE G. Glass on December the 3rd, 2006. Ward performed an autopsy on December the 5th, 2006, just hours after the boy's body was found wrapped in a quilt in the trunk of his mother's car. She said he was beaten several different times in the days before his death, but all the wounds would have been survivable, the Gadsden Times reported on the trial Friday. Toles, age 34, was dating GEONTAE's mother, Shalinda Glass, at the time of the boy's death. The two are accused of staging a fake abduction outside a convenience store at Albertville the day after he died. If I'm not mistaken, it was a Texaco station. Shalinda Glass also is charged with capital murder and is awaiting trial. Deputy District Attorney Marcus Reed asked Ward if she counted the number of wounds on GEONTAE's body. "I don't think I counted them. There were so many," she said. "Some of the wounds on the boy's legs, arms, and face already were scabs. At least one of those wounds on the leg appeared to be from a belt. But the most severe wounds were found on GEONTAE's buttocks and thighs," she said. "Some of the tissues were exposed." Oh, and during an interior examination, Ward discovered damage deep in the muscle. Wow, that's uncalled for. After noticing wounds that appeared to be caused by a piece of wood, Ward instructed investigators to look for such a weapon at the suspected crime scene. Investigators found a piece of wood resembling a 2x4 with what appeared to be blood outside of Toll's home on Shady Grove Road near Melbourne. Debbie Dodd, a forensic scientist specializing in DNA analysis, testified that the stains on the piece of wood were from GEONTAE's blood. Ward said the injuries caused hemorrhaging on GEONTAE's spinal cord, and the child was most likely paralyzed. Two investigators testified Thursday that Tolles first told them he was responsible for what happened to the boy, but changed his story once police said they could not guarantee his girlfriend would not be charged. Etowah County Sheriff's Office Chief Investigator Michael Jones and FBI Special Agent Brent Talent testified that Tolles then told them that two masked men came out of the woods and asked them to bring the boy outside. See, they blamed masked men, see? Tolles said the men asked for money, and he gave them $15,000. The boy's 10-year-old sister testified Wednesday that Tolles was upset with her brother, took him outside her home, and when they returned, the boy wasn't moving. During opening statements, Tolles' attorney, Danny Bone, said Tolles was falsely accused and some issues of the case will be disputed. Falsely accused, she's a witness, right? She's a witness to see what her dad done. What her mom's boyfriend done. She was right there. He had a history of doing this. Okay, so now this is October the 14th, 2009, okay? This goes on and on. He keeps having different trials, y'all. Man guilty of capital murder in Northeast Alabama boy's death. An Etowah County jury has found a man guilty of capital murder in the death of his girlfriend's young son. The jury found Kevin Andre Tolles guilty shortly before 11 a.m. Wednesday in the December 2006 beating death of 5-year-old GEONTAE Glass. Closing arguments were made Tuesday, and the jury began deliberations Wednesday morning. The sentencing phase will begin Thursday morning when the jury will decide whether to recommend life in prison or death. Kyle's girlfriend and the child's mother, Shalinda Glass, is also charged with capital murder and awaiting trial. GEONTAE's body was found in the trunk of a car one day after Tolles and Glass reported him missing. Tolles' 15-year-old son said in court Friday that Tolles abused him at 8 years old when he lived with him. Let's go to the next one. So this now is October the 16th, 2009. In Gadsden, Alabama, an Alabama jury is recommending the death penalty for a man convicted of capital murder in the slaying of a 5-year-old boy. Etowah County jurors rejected calls for mercy today and said 34-year-old Kevin Andrew Tolles of Boaz should be executed for killing his girlfriend's young son, GEONTAE Glass, in December 2006. He was asking for mercy. Where was the mercy for GEONTAE? Where was the mercy for his own son? A judge can either accept that recommendation or sentence Tolles to life in prison without parole. Tolles was convicted when she fatally beat the 5-year-old boy with a wooden board. Relatives of the man had asked jurors to spare his life. Of course, the relatives will. Okay, so now, here's the mother, y'all. Here's the mother. She pleads guilty to felony murder of 5-year-old son. And this was published March the 7th, 2012. So this is Shalinda Glass. Shalinda Kalika Glass. I think I need to make it, minimize it or something, make it easier for y'all to see. Okay, so let me go. Okay, in Edmore County, Alabama, a Boas woman had pled guilty to a charge of felony murder in the 2006 death of her 5-year-old son. Shalinda Kalika Glass, 31, was originally charged with capital murder in her son GEONTAE Glass's death, but after review of the case and considering testimony from Glass's 9-year-old daughter, prosecution asked that her charge be reduced from capital to felony murder. Glass's boyfriend at the time of her son's death, Kevin Andre Tolles, was also charged with capital murder in GEONTAE's death but has been sentenced to death for the crime. The investigation began on December the 4th, 2006, when Glass called 911 from an Albertville gas station saying a car had been stolen while her son was still inside. A multi-county search was launched in an effort to find GEONTAE. When deputies searched Tolles' home on Shady Grove and Boas, they found GEONTAE's body in the trunk of the car that was reported stolen. It was actually in an outside garage. The car was parked hidden inside an outside garage. An autopsy revealed that GEONTAE died due to injuries that resulted from a horrific beating that caused several severe internal injuries to the child's body. A release from the Edmore County District Attorney's Office stated, Tolles was tried in October 2009 and found guilty of capital murder. The jury unanimously recommended the death penalty for Tolles. Judge Alan Milliken sentenced Tolles to death on December the 18th, 2009 for the murder of GEONTAE Glass. Some people argue and say, well, you can't bring the boy back. No, you can't bring the boy back, but you should have never done this in the first place. Edmore County DA Jimmy Harp says he and his prosecution team originally believed a charge of capital murder was appropriate for both Tolles and Glass. The testimony from Glass's daughter that came out in Tolles' trial led them to ask for a reduced sentence for Glass. If she knew her son was being beat that bad, she's just as responsible. During the course of Tolles' trial, the victim's 9-year-old sister, a key witness for the state, testified that Shalinda Glass was asleep and wouldn't have known that Tolles took GEONTAE outside and beat him with a stick. The sister testified that she never saw her brother walk or talk again after being taken outside by Tolles, according to a statement issued by the DA's office. In order to prove the crime of capital murder, the state has to be able to prove that a person had the specific intent to cause the death of another, Harp said. Here, although there was evidence that Glass failed to provide appropriate care for the victim, failed to seek the medical attention that could have saved his life, and helped to cover up the crime after the fact, there's no evidence that she was even aware that the crime was committed until after it was discovered that GEONTAE had died. The sister's testimony was the only piece of evidence showing exactly when the beating took place, and that testimony indicated that Shalinda Glass was asleep at the time. What about the other times when he was beaten and then recovered? All these scabs all over his body. She didn't protect him, right? Oh, yeah. She is guilty of aggravated child abuse by failing to protect her child, and that abuse ultimately resulted in the death of GEONTAE Glass at the hands of Tolles. This makes her guilty of felony murder, but not capital murder, Hart continued. After Tolles had been tried and convicted of GEONTAE's murder, prosecutors concluded that the level of intent and participation in the crime was not the same for Glass as it had been for Tolles, according to Hart. The prosecution also took into account the effect that a second trial would have against GEONTAE's 9-year-old sister. Everyone involved was incredibly moved by GEONTAE's sister, her bravery in testifying, her love for her brother, and the difficulties she faces in the future because of what happened to her brother, because of the actions of her own mother, said Hart. At times like this, we believe that this is necessary to temper justice with a degree of compassion for this little girl. She should not be forced to another trial. Defense attorneys in the DA's office negotiated to have Glass's charge changed to felony murder. When Judge Milliken accepted the felony murder plea, he addressed Glass saying, "There are some things in life that you never get over. The autopsy report and the photographs of the victim in this case will be burned into my mind forever, and I will always be haunted by the facts of this case. However, my heart was touched by your daughter. Milliken told Glass of the future and well-being of her daughter and the fact that her responsibility in the crime was not the same as Tolles for the reasons he allowed the felony murder plea rather than capital murder. Glass had been sentenced to life in prison. She remained in jail without bond pending a trial of the case. As part of the plea agreement, she waived her rights to appeal conviction." We'll go on to the next story about this case. So now he's getting a second trial right here, y'all. So this was September the 19th of 2014. Man convicted of 2006 beating death a 5-year-old, and it's not her son. That is not his son. His girlfriend's son. He was not married. He was not his stepdad. This little boy was found wrapped in a blanket in the trunk of a car in 2006. So Montgomery, Alabama, the Alabama Supreme Court Friday struck down a 2009 capital murder conviction of a man sentenced to die for his son's death. It's not his son. His dad died around 2017-18, I believe. The court ruled 7-0 to overturn the capital murder conviction of Kevin Andre Tolles because of improper testimony during the trial. Tolles was convicted of beating his son, GEONTAE Glass, 5 in December 2006 with a piece of wood after his contact grade dropped. His contact grade. His mother, Celinda Glass Boas, told authorities he had been asleep in the back seat of a car with a car stolen in Albertville. There he is right there. The boy was found later in the car, dead in the trunk, wrapped in a blanket, and the story of a car theft proved to be false. The mother pled guilty to murder in 2012 and is serving a life sentence. In a 51-page decision, the court said the testimony of Tolles' 15-year-old son about a beating he received prejudiced the case, and that it did not prove Tolles meant to kill his son during the beating that took his life. The decision affirms an Alabama Court of Criminal Appeals decision that overturned Tolles' conviction last year. The Gadsden Times quotes Etowah County District Attorney Jimmy Harp as saying he expects a retrial soon. Without further ado, I think I'm going to do a search right quick because I want to show y'all where the dad actually had, let's say, Google GEONTAE. I misspelled it, sorry. See right here. The Tolles murder. Okay. I'm like, where's the one that I had seen earlier? I wish I could see Taylor's last McKinney. And there's his death right there in the Tribune. Okay, here's right here where it shows the daddy's name. It said, GEONTAE Taylor Glass McKinney, age 5, passed away Tuesday, December 5th. He was born April the 19th, 2001 in Sandrock. Wright Memorial Mortuary Incorporated of Rome, Georgia, had charge of the arrangements. The youth is survived by his mother, Shalinda Glass, of Rainbow City, his father, Christopher Shane McKinney, of Gadsden, three sisters, Shalaya Glass of Rainbow City, and Aubrey and Jada Ford of Fort Payne. His grandparents, Linda Nada Glass, a senator, and Mary McKinney, and the late James McKinney Sr. of Gadsden. So right here, no, the real father is Christopher Shane McKinney. It is not that sorry piece of crap that they say is his father. Because this right here is his father, Christopher Shane McKinney. He was the mother's boyfriend, not the mother's spouse. There's a big difference between the two, people. So here's the retrial of man convicted in 2006 beating death a 5-year-old could be begin in May. So the retrial of man previously sentenced to die for beating it. I get mad to saying son, okay? That's false. To death in 2006 could begin as early as May. But in other words, in Alabama, there was common law marriage, and they might try to say common law marriage, but they never said husband and wife, so how could that really have been his son? Kevin Andre Toll sat in the Elmore County Court in the status conference before Judge Alan Milliken only 4 months after the Alabama Supreme Court threw out its 2009 capital murder conviction. Toast was convicted of beating GEONTAE Glass 5 in December 2006 with a piece of wood after his contact grade dropped. His mother, Shalinda Glass of Boaz, told authorities he had been asleep in the back seat of a car when the car was stolen in Albertville. The boy was found later in the car, dead in the trunk, wrapped in a blanket. All that proved to be false. See? Toll's previous conviction was thrown out due to what the court said was improper testimony. Part of today's status hearing dealt with when a retrial might take place. While May was mentioned as a possible start time, Milliken said there were several capital cases scheduled for this year, including the expected trial next month of Joyce Hardin Girard. District Attorney Jimmy Hart said during the hearing the act of retrying Town was an unusual situation. Milliken said he felt any previous orders for evidence were still in force, though the law may have changed on some matters. If so, he said, he would rule on those. He rejected a motion for bond from Danny Bone, one of Toll's attorneys, but said Toll would be on hand in court for every stage of the trial. In its decision last year, the state Supreme Court ruled that in the previous trial, the testimony of Toll's 15-year-old son about a beating he received prejudiced the case, and that it did not prove Toll's meant to kill his son during a beating that took his life. I think that was important information showing that he had a habit of beating the kids, right? That's the prosecutors told an Alabama County jury this morning that a man on trial for capital murder told authorities he was responsible for the child's death. They came after the 5-year-old boy's body was discovered wrapped in a blanket. But lawyers for Kevin Andre Torres argued that it was a boy's mother already in prison who was responsible for the death of GEONTAE Glass. Oh, but she was asleep, but she's responsible? She was asleep. Opening statements began today in the retrial of Toles, who was convicted in 2009 of Glass's death and sentenced to die. The Alabama Supreme Court. I can go back over that again. Yeah, the boy was found later in the car, going down. Okay. It said authorities were able to discover the address when they found a utility bill bearing the address of the home when they conducted a search of another home where Toll said the boy spent the night. So that's how they were able to locate where they were, because of finding a utility bill at this other place. Reed said prosecutors will use forensic evidence to show that GEONTAE was beaten over the course of several days. However, the injuries were survivable if he had been given proper medical treatment. He was whipped. You'll see marks on his body, bruises on his legs, flesh ripped from his buttocks, and the imprint of a piece of wood on his body. When Glass died, Reed said Toles bathed the child's body and strapped him into a car seat next to his sister. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, y'all. Put him in a car seat next to his 7-year-old sister in which he was dead, y'all. Wow. However, an Amber Alert and the rapid response of law enforcement prevented him from disposing of the child's body. Reed said Selena Glass, currently serving time in prison for murder, went along with the story. Tole's lawyers, though, argue that Selena Glass was responsible for the child's murder. You know, when you're around somebody that's violent like this, you're afraid of the person. You're afraid what they're going to do to you. She wasn't thinking about GEONTAE, Roberts said. She was thinking about herself. Her client helped her. She was a culprit in the case. Attorney Danny Moon said the state will be unable to produce an eyewitness to any beatings of GEONTAE Glass, and no direct evidence will tie Toles to the child's death. While the case would undoubtedly be emotional, Bone said the jury had to look objectively at the evidence. I would say it's pretty evidential when the daughter saw saw him going outside with him being alive and said that he's going to get him good. He's going to have to pay dearly. And then brought him back, and he was lifeless. So this is November 23rd, 2015. So the teacher says the boy beaten to death cried after conduct report. The 5-year-old boy whose beaten body was later discovered in the trunk of a car wrapped in a blanket cried when the teacher gave him a conduct grade. She testified today in court. Kelly Page, the teacher of GEONTAE Glass, told jurors in an Etowah County court that the boy received a conduct grade in the form of a face with a straight mouth, not a smiley face or a frown. This grade meant satisfactory borderline behavior, basically a warning. Glass, Page testified, cried a few tears. My daddy's gonna spank me when I get home, he said. Page never saw the boy alive again. Kevin Andrew Toles, accused of capital murder in the 2006 death of GEONTAE, sat a few feet away. Prosecutors say Toles beat the child as punishment, but staged a fake kidnapping with the boy's mother in hopes of disposing of the child's body. Toles was sentenced to die for the crime in 2009, but his conviction was overturned by the Alabama Supreme Court because of improper testimony. This is the sweet, precious boy. Look at the smile. He was a beautiful child. On a question from Toles' defense team, Page said despite the child's reaction to the conduct grade, she did not believe GEONTAE was in danger. The boy always had what he needed in class and was usually dressed nicely. He was a typical little boy, she said. He was very happy. He was usually singing all day. Glass was reported missing December the 4th, 2006, when his mother, Celinda Glass, told Albertville police her car had been stolen from outside a service station. So, they got inside the store with GEONTAE's older sister. Can you imagine that? Them placing your brother's dead body in a car seat and you had to sit beside your dead brother's body going down the road? What kind of scars is she going to have to deal with the rest of her life? Belinda Glass is currently serving time in prison for murder. Testimony from people inside the service station recreated the scene. Ronnie Cook, who was in the store for a soft drink vendor, said he saw the blue Ultima circle in the parking lot several times before coming to a stop at a pump. He then saw Celinda Glass and her daughter exit the car. A few seconds later, he told the jury he saw a man jump out of a Ford truck, get into the Ultima, and drive away. Another man, James Robbins, said he later encountered the Ultima on Alabama 205 heading towards Boaz as he was driving into Albertville. The Ultima was traveling straight toward him in his lane at a high rate of speed, he said. The two vehicles swerved to miss each other, bringing their cars side by side and the two drivers face to face, Robbins said. He identified Tolles as the driver of the Ultima and said Tolles gave him a hard, cold stare. He's like, "What are you doing?" Robbins testified. Tolles then sped off. Back at the service station, its clerk Gina Keaton saw Celinda Glass mill around the store for several minutes with a child. "I felt like she was acting weird," Keaton said. "It's like she was distracting us from what was going on. If my child had been in the car, I would have been looking out the window." Keaton said Glass went outside, then went to a payphone and began saying a car was missing with her boy in the back seat. Keaton said she offered to push the store's panic button, but Glass told the police were already on the way. They arrived shortly after. Prosecutors played several minutes of surveillance footage from that day, showed Glass and a girl walk into the store, walk about, then outside before returning with police. Keaton said she saw Glass crying as she made phone calls. Tolles walked into the store 30 minutes to an hour later. Cook testified that when Tolles entered the store, he told police the man he had seen jump into the Ultima looked like Tolles, only with different clothes. It's just crazy. Testimony stopped briefly during Cook's testimony when he was asked if he had seen the surveillance tape of that morning. Yes, during the first trial, he said, which prompted a conference at the bench with Circuit Judge David Kimberly. After a few minutes, Kimberly told the juror to disregard the previous statement. Wow. It's crazy how that is. I can see how. So now witnesses recount warning a fake kidnapping, and this was November the 24th. As I said, I'm going in order of these reports. A friend of a man accused of beating a 5-year-old to death in 2006 testified today he received an early morning phone call from Kevin Andre Tolles asking for a ride to an Albertville service station. Wow. So see, he asked a friend. So it was him, see? Their prosecutors say he and a woman faked the kidnapping with designs on disposing of the child's body. Bobby Spadell was the first witness of the morning in the capital murder trial of Tolles, accused of killing GEONTAE Glass. The trial began last week. The boy's body was later found. We don't need to keep going back over that part, you know. Spadell told the jury that in 2006 he helped Tolles in opening an East Gadsden barbecue restaurant. Oh wow, I remember that story. He later got out of the business after he noticed several people hanging around the establishment who were bad for business. And he said he believed Toles was using cocaine and Lortab. Oh, jeez. A few months later, Spadell said in December 2006 he received a call from Toles around 2:30 or 3 a.m. asking for a ride. Spadell said Toles had a reputation as a night owl, and such a request was nothing new. Spadell drove his blue Ford F-150 to a house in Albertville using directions Toles gave him over the phone. However, it took several calls to find the place because Spadell got lost, he said. I didn't know where I was going, he testified. When he arrived at the house, Spadell said he and Toles talked for a few minutes about the business, then drove to an Albertville service station. They sat in the parking lot for about a minute, he said, then Toles hopped out. Toles thanked Spadell, handed him about $200, and told him he would talk to him later. $200, that sounds like hush money, right? But the two haven't spoken since, Spadell said. Toles was arrested for murder later. Prosecutors say Toles beat the boy to death over the weekend following a conduct citation. So we don't need to go on further down to that. Then we'll skip over to the Spadell also testified that Selena Glass called him at some point that fall before the child's death to say that Toles had hit her. He said he told her to go to the police or leave him, but saw her later that day with Toles. Wow. She looked at me like, don't say nothing, he said. She gave me a keep your mouth shut, quiet kind of look. Spadell also said he saw Toles slide across a stainless steel table, Dukes of Hazzard style, to intervene between GEONTAE and Selena Glass after she raised her voice to the boy. Spadell said he understood that Selena was the child's disciplinarian. However, under prosecutors' questions, Spadell said Toles was the dominant person in the relationship. Toles' defense attorneys contend it was Selena Glass who killed the boy. Another testimony, a husband and wife who owned another Albertville convenience store testified they saw Toles, Selena Glass, and another man outside a home Toles owned that adjoined their store on the morning of December the 4th. Penny and Kevin Derrick, owners of a store in South Broad Street, said they saw the group when they went in at about 5:30 that morning to open their store. Kevin said there was nothing unusual about the activity they saw except that the car in the driveway at Toles' home had its engine running for about 45 minutes, as evidenced by the exhaust and the coal burning air. Kevin also said he saw a girl with a group. Penny said she did not. Here saw surveillance video from the store that showed the moment when the Altima and truck left Toles' home, presumably to go to the service station. Wow. It goes on, don't it? There's more to the story, though. So now, even though he had said he did it, so in 2015 it was to say that he testifies he did not beat him to death. Kevin Andre Toles told an Etowah County jury Tuesday that Selena Glass was responsible for the 2006 beating death of 5-year-old GEONTAE Glass. However, he said he never saw the child being beaten by her. Testifying in his capital murder trial, Tao said the story he told investigators on December 2006, the hooded men came to his house and beat the boy, was concocted to protect Shalinda, who threatened to expose Tao's drug trafficking unless he went along with the lie. Bull crap, we know you did it, mister. I mean, that's why they did not need to shake the evidence of his son, of him beating his first son. Prosecutors say Toles beat the child as punishment after GEONTAE received a conduct report at school that staged a fake kidnapping of the boy's mother and hopes to dispose of the body. So now we go on down However, Toll said GEONTAE would have been worried because he had been promised a phone if he got good conduct marks. He said Toll said Shalinda was mad because her son had told Toll that his mother had been talking to her man friend at school. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So here's the second trial. The second time. He was found guilty of capital murder in the meeting in 2015. For a second time, the Etowah County jury has found Kevin Andre Tolles guilty of capital murder in the 2006 speeding death of 5-year-old GEONTAE Glass. The jury returned the verdict shortly before 10 a.m. today at the Etowah County Judicial Center. The decision came after about 45 minutes deliberation this morning and about 90 minutes yesterday. Then we go further going down. Tell us what's accused. Let's get past what is accused. We all know that. We know that he was in the back seat of the vehicle. During the trial, GEONTAE's sister Shalia, now 16, testified she saw Towles and the boy walk outside the home one Sunday morning. So I did not know that he actually walked beside Towles. But Towles said the child had to pay for something. Then the Towles came back into the house carrying GEONTAE. She'd never seen him walk or talk again. So that's that one. So now we'll go to the next one. We're getting there, y'all. This is in 2016. He gets a death penalty a second time for the killing, right? He was sentenced to die by lethal injection. Etowah County Circuit Judge David Kimberly sentenced Tolles this morning at the Etowah County Judicial Center. A jury in December found Tolles guilty of capital murder in the 2006 speeding death of 5-year-old GEONTAE Glass. He had previously been convicted of the crime in 2009 and was sentenced to die, but his verdict was overturned by the Alabama Supreme Court. So the jury last year unanimously recommended the death penalty for Tolles. We're not going to go back over the fact that it was a staged kidnapping. They found the whereabouts of the car from the utility bill. Let's see. Let me go further on down to see if I think that's all of that one. So now his attorneys in March 2016 argued that the Alabama death penalty statute is unconstitutional. What's unconstitutional is you hurting a child in the ways that you did. Your own son and GEONTAE. Did he ever harm any of the other kids? That's what I like to know. Okay, it said lawyers for an Etowah County man convicted twice of beating a 5-year-old boy to death argued today in a hearing that Alabama's capital punishment sentencing scheme is unconstitutional. But wasn't it unconstitutional for you to kill the kid? You to beat a kid? And though a circuit judge denied the motion, the hearing highlighted arguments currently going on in courtrooms throughout the state on the legality of the existing law. An Etowah County jury in December found Kevin Andre Tolles guilty of capital murder. So let's go on further down because we read that earlier. Tolles is scheduled to be sentenced at 10 a.m. Tuesday. His lawyers Danny Sambo. Yeah, he's having a tantrum, that's for sure. Punishment statute is similar to Florida's, which was struck down recently by the U.S. Supreme Court. Florida and Alabama, along with Delaware, are the only 3 states that have judicial override where judges can impose a death sentence over the wishes of juries that recommend life without parole sentences in capital murder cases. A number of defense attorneys around the state have filed similar motions to bar the death penalty on behalf of their clients since the U.S. Supreme Court ruling nearly 2 months ago. However, Toll's case is unique in that the judicial override would benefit him. The same jury that convicted him voted unanimously to recommend the death penalty, a fact that both the defense and prosecutors mentioned during today's hearing. However, Circuit Judge David Kimberly asked several questions of Toll's lawyers, indicating in part his reasoning for denying the motion. Kimberly cited the Supreme Court's ruling in the Florida case that judges were able to make overriding decisions based on information and facts that juries did not hear. In Alabama, however, juries are given the responsibility of determining aggravating circumstances whether a crime was partially cruel or heinous. And we all know that that crime was heinous and it was particularly cruel too. Kimberly said the Florida statute did not do so. And prosecutors pointed out that an appeal along similar lines were rejected by the U.S. Supreme Court in the case of Christopher Eugene Brooks. Brooks has been executed since the Florida decision. The jury has to make the finding that makes anybody eligible for the death penalty, Kimberly said. I can't sentence somebody to death unless a jury specifically finds aggravating circumstances. It's there. Aggravated. It's there. Earlier this month, Jefferson County Circuit Judge Tracy Todd barred the death penalty in the cases of 4 men charged in 3 murders. The last week, Alabama Attorney General Luther Strange announced his office had filed a petition for a writ of mandamus asking the Alabama Court of Criminal Appeals to order Todd to vacate her March 3rd order declaring Alabama's capital sentencing scheme to be facially unconstitutional. I don't think I like you, Luther Strange. If I moved back to Alabama, I would never vote or elect you. Toast was accused of beating GEONTAE to death over a weekend. Yeah, we know all that. It's got the same piece of tidbit of information repeatedly. So we could go on to the next story. Okay, I could get this one right here out of the way. And so this one right here, that was October the 8th, 2009. Here is where he had the autopsy. GEONTAE's body was found a day later at a restaurant. An autopsy showed GEONTAE died from blunt force trauma. That's where it shows right there. I thought that was important to show that. And look at here, y'all. This is at Facebook where there's, I guess it's Forgotten Angels. It's probably this is GEONTAE Tabori's G Glass Bikini, April the 19th, 2001, December the 5th, 2006. GEONTAE was born in Rome, Georgia, just like me. He's a Georgia boy. That's what the person that did this. GEONTAE Glass. And it goes on down further. It's got a lot of the cases. Okay. Let's see. See if there's anything new with this. Okay. There ain't any more news except for I was showing y'all the part right here that it's Forgotten Angels. And there is the precious little boy. Okay, then here's right here, man on death row to get 3rd trial. Look here, y'all. He's getting a 3rd trial. Is this messed up or what? A 3rd trial. A child's fatal beating case. There it is right there. A man twice convicted and sentenced to death in a child's 2006 beating has won a 2nd appeal due to judicial error this time. let's see. Let me go where the doctor that testified in the case said that GEONTAE, who died from blunt force trauma, could have survived his injuries if he had received medical attention. So Lily Glass was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. In 2012, she'll be considered for parole in 2021. So I'm wondering if she's out of jail now. So the Supreme Court, after being convicted and sentenced to death in his 2015 retrial, Toad's case will return to the court for a third time due to judicial error. Well, we had to pay for a lot, and this was April the 27th, 2018. Wow, 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 wow. So here's when the third trial looms. Or the trial related to the death of 5-year-old set for June. And this was 2019. There's officers. Kevin Andre Tolles is escorted back to the Etowah County Detention Center after a day in a court. In 2015, and Gadsden Tolles was back in court Tuesday, leading up to his third trial date in connection with the 2006 murder of 5-year-old GEONTAE Glass. Okay, it says Kevin Andre Tolles was back in Etowah County Circuit Court on Tuesday for a status conference prior to what will be his third trial for the 2006 slaying of 5-year-old GEONTAE Glass. Tow's then boyfriend of Glass, mother Shalinda Glass, had twice been convicted and twice sentenced to die for the brutal beating that resulted in the boy's death. Twice the case has been reversed on appeal. Trial date of June the 10th has been set for Circuit Judge Sonny Steen, and prosecutors said they would be prepared to try the case then. However, defense attorneys Jeff Montgomery and Vince Pentecost said they may not be prepared at that time. Montgomery told the judge there's a lot of material from the two previous trials for the defense team to review. Montgomery said the defense filed a motion to be allowed to view the crime scene with the defendant as part of a trial preparation. He said there actually are 3 scenes they need to view, and he must get permission from a current property owner to view one of those scenes. He said they may be able to view 2 other scenes, both in Marshall County, a drive-by. The Chief Deputy District Attorney Marcus Reed said viewing any of the scenes must be coordinated with the Sheriff's Office to provide security for taking an accused capital murder suspect into the community. Steen said until the defense could get permission to view the scene, it would be premature to make arrangements for the visit. He said he will set a hearing date to discuss that and other expected defense motions prior to the set court date, and at this time they will discuss whether the case will be ready for trial in June. I hadn't heard anything about the new trial going on. So it goes on, and I want to thank everybody for coming today. Thank you so much for coming. This is a horrendous story. Please get it out there. So I'm not sure what's happened with the latest case. If anybody finds out, please get it on your channel. Please, this little boy, he deserves justice. GEONTAE Glass, he deserves justice. So thank everybody for coming. It hit me hard when I was living, like I said, in that county, and I heard that APB. And boy, was I mad when I found out about his body being in a family garage, in a detached garage on the property, in a car, in the trunk of a car. So they not only moved his body from the car seat where the sister was having to ride to the store, the dead brother in a car seat. But when they got to the house, evidently moved his body from the car seat to inside the truck. This boy deserves justice. The sister deserves justice. Every one of these people deserves justice. And unfortunately, the daddy of GEONTAE is now deceased as well. So he would never see justice for his son while he's alive. So thank you, everybody. And I say God bless to each and every one of y'all. Y'all take care and have a fabulous day. God bless.